This is Nightly Update. Hi, everybody. Good evening. I'm Stephen Holt. We're going to begin tonight with a brutal murder that shocked Chicago. A man connected to the killing of Marlon Ochoa Lopez has entered a plea deal. NBC5's Kate Chappell has more on the suspect's role in trying to cover up the crime.
For us, there is still no justice for Marlon Ochoa Lopez.
A plea deal more than 3 years after a pregnant Marlene Ochoa was murdered, her unborn child cut from her womb. Family advocate Julie Contreras calls today a dark day.
There was a huge misrepresentation of the rule of law and the judicial system.
Peter Bobog, then boyfriend of Clarissa Figueroa, accepted a plea deal admitting he destroyed evidence. In turn, a reduced charge of obstructing justice. The 44-year-old was initially also charged with concealing the homicide. Mother-daughter duo Clarissa and Desiree Figueroa are charged with luring the 19-year-old to their Southwest Side home in April 2019 on the promise of free baby clothes. Instead, prosecutors say they distracted her with photos before strangling her and cutting the baby from her womb. Baby Yvonne Lopez died months later in June. Bobach is accused of cleaning up the crime scene. His attorney, Steve Steinbeck, says he was misled into believing the child was his own and did not take part in any of the violence.
Es muy poquito tiempo.
Marlene's father, Arnulfo Ochoa, says 4 years is too little time, and this is not justice. It's a license to continue hurting people.
That's Kate Chappell reporting. She tells us that the Bobak remains behind bars for now. When he's released, he'll be on probation for 6 months. As part of his plea agreement, he's also agreed to testify as a witness for the state in future trials against the Figueroas, who still have pending cases against them. Let's take a turn tonight. DuPage County Sheriff breaking his silence after facing growing criticism for his view that the new Illinois assault weapons ban is unconstitutional. He joins more than 80 other state sheriffs who say they won't enforce the new law. NBC5's Charlie Wojciechowski has more on a group of Democratic lawmakers calling on James Mendrick to change his stance and why Mendrick says he's being berated by politicians.
Mounting pressure on DuPage County's sheriff, a coalition of federal, state, and county lawmakers, calling on James Mendrick to reverse his controversial stand, declaring he would not enforce provisions of Illinois' new assault weapons ban.
Everybody's here for one common purpose, and that is to demand that Sheriff Mendrick do his job.
Mendrick drew fire last week after posting a letter on Facebook addressed to the people of DuPage County. In it, he said it was his belief the new Illinois law was a clear violation of the Second Amendment to the Constitution. In particular, Mendrick says he will not enforce the provisions of the new bill which require existing assault weapon owners to register their weapons. In a statement released this afternoon, Mendrick struck back at the lawmakers, saying when elected officials are blatantly untruthful, maybe they're the ones who should consider resignation. He said there is absolutely nothing we are doing or not doing that would make a mass shooting more accessible in DuPage County. Mendrick is not alone. All but a handful of Illinois sheriffs say they won't enforce the ban, many of them posting letters almost identical to Mendrick's. Illinois Sheriff Tom Dart says he is not one of them.
We take an oath to uphold the law, not our version of it.
And while members of the DuPage County Board have talked about the possibility of censuring Mendrick for his position, which is opposed to a position taken by the board, there is little they can do but keep the pressure up on another voter-elected public official.
Calling on Sheriff Mendrick to immediately rescind his statement, to immediately commit to enforcing the laws that he has taken an oath to uphold. Because if he can't, he's got to resign.
In Wheaton, Charlie Wojciechowski, NBC 5 News.
Turning now to Decision 2023, the race for mayor in Chicago. There's a new poll that came out by Mayor Lightfoot's campaign, and it shows her in the lead, but statistically tied with former school CEO Paul Vallis. Congressman Chuy Garcia in third place, followed by Willie Wilson and Cook County Commissioner Brandon Johnson. Pembroke Township, let's take a turn now to Pembroke Township, about 65 miles from Chicago in Kankakee County. Also one of the poorest places in the state. Today, U.S. Congressman Robin Kelly brought good news to that community. NBC5's Karen Aguilar has more on the Promise of Pembroke celebration.
I used to have that hill back there covered with wood.
Roosevelt Smiley Jr. uses propane to heat his home.
It's a real challenge sometimes when it temperature drops way below zero.
After a 3-year fight, Pembroke Township will finally have natural gas by Nicor.
I'm thrilled that it's coming.
The gas pipeline's a lifeline to some in a community where the median income is about $22,000 and some homes lack indoor plumbing. Elected officials and advocates gathering at Lorenzo R. Smith Elementary School for a ribbon cutting to seal the milestone.
It's going to change people's lives in Pembroke Township in Hopkins Park dramatically.
Robin Kelly brought all the stakeholders together. Then Representative Jackie Haas and Senator Patrick Joyce pushed for legislation allowing NICOR to go outside of its service area.
It's thrilling to see your work, it finally happened.
But not everyone is happy with it.
This gas can be detrimental to the environment.
The financial burden a concern.
When less and less people sign off of natural gas and more people are using renewable, who's going to bear that cost?
NICOR says there are programs to help offset the cost. The cost will remain the same throughout Illinois, but getting natural gas is optional for residents.
Hopefully, it'll bring more people in that want to live a rural lifestyle.
Congresswoman Robin Kelly says that they're hoping to get broadband for this community by later this year. Reporting from the village of Hopkins Park, Karen Aguilar, NBC 5 News.
Chicago radio fans are celebrating the life of longtime WXRT DJ Lynn Bramer. He passed away over the weekend after a battle with cancer. Tonight he's being remembered as a man who loved life, brought joy to his listeners for decades, and was a true poet and historian of Chicago. NBC 5's Leanne Trotter has the story.
We have come to pay tribute to our best friend in the whole world, Lynn Bramer, passed yesterday morning.
Lynn Bramer hosted the midday show every weekday on WXRT. But this morning, his colleagues Terry Himmert and Marty Leonards used the time slot to memorialize their longtime friend.
He didn't suck the energy out of a room.
Not at all.
He brought the energy to the room, and he made every person that he met in that room feel special.
Lynn Bramer passed away Sunday after a long battle with prostate cancer. He had been working at WXRT since 1984, first as music director, then in 1991, he became the morning host. He moved to middays in 2020. Last July, Bramer took a leave of absence as he was undergoing treatment for cancer, and he went back to work on air in November.
He's the person I would turn to in a time like this, and I think that's why we're all here, because this is what he taught us to do.
Nice Lounge in Wrigleyville normally opens at 5 p.m., but today they opened at 10 a.m. so people could come by and hear the radio tribute with other fans.
Huge loss for Chicago, but, it's just so cool to see everyone celebrating him, and the legacy he's left.
The lounge is taking donations for one of Lynn Bramer's favorite charities.
I think one thing people don't maybe realize is Lynn, wasn't just a connoisseur of music, but also of food and wine. I mean, this man loved to eat.
He was the first celebrity to sign on as a judge for Chicago Gourmet's Hamburger Hop, and he did it for 14 years.
He had an infectious enthusiasm for music, food, and life.
And the Chicago Cubs. Lynn Bramer was 68 years old. He is survived by his wife and son, and a whole city of fans. Leanne Trotter, NBC 5 News.
Let's take a turn tonight. Student faculty at UIC are back in class after nearly a week-long strike. The union reached a tentative agreement with university leadership overnight. The faculty union says that new deal includes $60,000 minimum salaries for their lowest paid members and commitments from the university on student wellness and disability testing. Union members now have to ratify it.
I'm tired, but I'm also excited to be back in the classroom, excited that we have a fair contract to take to our members and vote on.
I was really happy that the administration finally came to an agreement with the faculty. I was grateful that faculty spoke up for what they needed.
UIC leadership said they were pleased to reach a resolution, but they said in a statement that there could be challenging financial times ahead for the university. When a young Arlington Heights mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, she wasn't just worried about beating it. She wondered what it would do to her chances of having more children. It's a conversation she's glad she had and is sharing her story to help others. Health and Wellness reporter Lauren Petty has the story.
When Shelly Batista was nursing her first daughter, Amelia,
when I noticed a lump in my breast that I originally thought was just a clogged milk duct.
Further tests revealed it was triple-negative breast cancer, a stunning diagnosis for a 34-year-old with no family history, but that wasn't Shelly's biggest concern.
We were already talking about expanding our family, and so that was kind of my first question of how is this going to impact that?
Shelley went to see Dr. Kara Goldman, director of fertility preservation at Northwestern Medicine.
Chemotherapy saves lives, but it also takes fertility.
That's why before starting chemo, Shelley started the egg retrieval process, ultimately freezing 8 embryos.
Knowing that she had this chance to conceive after all of this was a light at the end of the tunnel. And for so many patients, that's how they view it.
A year after beating the cancer that took her breasts and ovaries, Shelley was cleared for pregnancy. The 3rd embryo transfer took, and an ultrasound confirmed Shelley and Robert were having twin girls.
I think our jaws kind of dropped open, and but I mean, seriously, such a blessing too.
You were such a beautiful little embryo, and now you're such a beautiful little baby.
Born in mid-December, Dr. Goldman got to meet twins Nina and Margot in the hospital. Grateful, Shelley spoke up right away, and that Illinois mandates insurance coverage of care like Shelley's.
We are in one of the very few states where insurance often covers fertility preservation in urgent situations. So there are only 12 states in the United States that have legislation mandating this.
I think it's so important that we advocate for not only for our health, but also, our future.
A future that includes the 3 children, these twin girls and their big sister, that Robert and Shelley had always dreamed of. In Arlington Heights, Lauren Petty, NBC 5 News.
Oh, they are precious. Our thanks to Lauren for that story. Let's get a check of the weather now from Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brent Miller.
Stefan, we're back to classic January in Chicago. Snow develops overnight tomorrow night. No problem for the morning rush hour or the evening rush hour, but into Wednesday's rush hour, accumulating snow could be several inches. And then on Thursday, snow showers on Friday. Saturday, more snow accumulating into Sunday, so an active pattern has returned. More on the forecast with our storm team as we get closer. Stefan, back to you.
Back to reality. Brant Miller, thank you very much. Don't forget you can get news and weather headlines anytime on the NBC Chicago app. I'm Stefan Holt. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.